times during the season so far this year.
Local driver Buddy Lazier now up to 10th place. He's never had a top 10 finish in his career. He's got a lot of fans in the stands here from Vail, Colorado, his hometown, rooting for him.
Well, he's come a long ways in motor racing, and he really deserves a lot for being up in a 10th place with a field like this, Paul.
Bobby Rahal knows, of course, that should a passing maneuver take both these cars out, and here
Rahal's going to try the maneuver, and come Michael right over to try and get in front of him. He does so. He blocks Rahal out of the corner and maintains second.
Now, a deal like that, you can just flat see. Bobby Rahal is using good common sense. He was afraid he'd get an accident. The points right there are worth more than the pass was. Now, that is the act of a very smart race driver.
Very disciplined driver. That's Sandy Andretti, Michael's wife. And you saw that the safety vehicles on the course and waving yellows in that one section, as well as the white flag there, which tells the drivers that there is a safety vehicle ahead. They're trying to get Didier Taze off the course.
Of course, if Rahal and Andretti were both eliminated in the same crash, that would actually help Rahal vis-a-vis the championship in terms of his battle with Michael Andretti. But if Al Unser Jr. goes on to win the race, he's currently 4th in the championship, he would vault up and become a contender. So caution is still a factor here.
The battle for second place now moves around Jeff Wood as Rahal continues to stalk Michael Andretti. And this will become a most fascinating battle now because they are beginning to overhaul the back of the field, and in doing so on a circuit as tight as this is and surprisingly slow as this is, if you want to regard 70 to 125 miles an hour as slow. Well, the timing to the corner with other cars who are running slower than you there, that can be critical. Debbie Rahal watches her husband.
You know, Paul, another thing we got to watch Rahal chasing Michael there. It's difficult to follow a car around a course like this. You can't judge because of the cement wall so much of what the other guy's doing. Plus, all the heat's in the exhaust and everything.
Here's Rahal going to make a shot again. The two of them get together. Both the combatants in the fight. Michael Andretti frustrated with that when the engine appears dead. Jeff Wood pulls to a stop just behind him. The corner workers trying desperately to slow in the oncoming traffic down.
Fittipaldi involved too.
Fittipaldi right there, but he got going again. Yep. There goes Dad. Mario Andretti through, and Michael is looking for an opportunity to roll out.
Emil got blocked. This is the one thing that should not have happened. Rahal really had to pass on Michael right there. Michael just pinched him into the wall too tight. Now, Rahal just why he's going.
Rahal got going. Michael's trying to get going. Apparently having trouble getting it. Now it's under power, and Michael is rolling again, but Rahal definitely got the advantage out of that one.
A decisive moment in the championship, because certainly to turn the tide, Michael Andretti had to win this race. He's not now in a position to do so.
Bobby Unser, here it is again.
Now here Rahal is trying to outbrake him, coming in the turn. He has plenty of room. Now Michael can see way over there. Rahal is more than up alongside of him, more than even. Michael just came right on down. There was no place for Bobby Rahal to go. They're going to be lucky if it doesn't knock both of them out of the race. Emil Fittipaldi, right behind the number 5 car, gets blocked. The total road is blocked right there.
But you know, that's the same place where John Andretti misjudged Cheever's presence there. Here's the leader, Al Unser Jr. Of course, his job made a lot easier by what has just happened behind him on the road. But that's where John Andretti had trouble, too, and it makes me think two drivers of that caliber are not lulled into an easy error like that. It must be very difficult in that turn to see the man inside of you for some reason. Now let's take a look at just exactly what he sees and doesn't see.
Michael's on board camera as he comes into the corner. At this moment, Rahal is maneuvering to the inside, and they get together. And in fact, as you hear the revs come up, that tells you that Michael's rear end got off the ground and the rears spun up and the engine got up to some high revs.
Well, he was also shifting. He obviously didn't know that Bobby was going to hit. He was shifting and revving the engine up and get going again, Paul.
This is Jeff Andretti. That's Michael's brother, of course. And the 31 car of Ted Prappis is stopped as well. So a good number of changes occurring here. Rahal was able to come out just behind Scott Pruitt, which put him into 6th place. And Michael Andretti is now behind Willie Ribbs in 8th place. So a change in the order, as Sam pointed out, potentially a change in the championship. And look at Michael, he's flat at the left rear tire. He's going to have to limp around to the pits, and that can cause damage.
Well, not only can cause damage, you can beat everything up in the car, Paul, but it's going to cost him precious time because he has to get in with that tire. Now, it's going to give, if Bobby Rahal is not bent. Remember we said they're going to be lucky if there isn't something wrong. He's also dragging the bottom of this race car. It's going to really tear the race car up for Michael to get in, but this is what you call desperation time. He has to get back in the race, otherwise no points.
Now as Michael goes through corners, the right front comes off the ground. He can barely steer the car, and he's just trying to limp his way around, find his way into the pits. And look, you'll see that what happens when he makes a turn in there, he gets on the brakes, and the wheel with no weight on it in front will lock completely up.
He's only halfway around the lap, too. He's still got a ways to go. He's got to get down by the convention center, which you see in front of you there, make a couple of more rights before he can double back to the pits.
Every foot is damaging that car. As I suggested, when you go into a right-hand corner in the weight transfer, well, with the back end, the whole chassis is off at tilt, so when he hits the brakes, that one's going to lock on it.
Yeah, that's because the suspensions are so incredibly stiff on these cars. This would not happen with a regular passenger car.
The tub is really so stiff that the suspension is just falling down on the left rear. We see the right front locked up on the car. The main thing, though, is what we don't see is it's wearing something out on the bottom. We can't see that. The pit crews will have to look at that when he comes in.
Bobby, what about in terms of a tactical mistake as now he makes it onto the pits? Here he's involved in a contact accident, and he doesn't, well, Rahal didn't either, come into the pits to give him a chance to check it. Is it just that the fight was so solid?
Yes, it was. They were both just hoping that as long as the engine runs, you can shift it. You look in your mirrors, you've got 2 tires on the rear, 2 tires on the front. That's all you really worry about.
All right, let's go to Gary.
Now, Paul, we get our first look as we lean out over the wall with a very anxious crew, the man who has led 39% of all the laps this year in the IndyCar season, shaking his head in disgust. All he can do is wait. They've got him down off the jack. They changed tires, and he is gone. He'll try it. They had suspension parts and everything ready. They didn't have to change them this time.
Just a tick under 14 seconds, and Michael Andretti is out of the pits. But let's remember just how much time he lost trying to get that wounded machine back into the pits. It certainly has taken him out of the top of the order, if not out of the championship fight. Al Unser Jr. continues to lead. Pies ninth. He's never finished in the top 10 in an IndyCar race. And of course, Sam Posey, he's got a lot of friends down from Vail that are certainly cheering him on.
You bet it. While Scott Brayton, who you see here behind him, is of course a seasoned veteran, this is a really big day for Buddy Lazier, not only because it's near his hometown, but because he's running higher up in an IndyCar race than he ever has before, and he's a guy of great potential, finally being able to show it.
And remember, he doesn't have near the horsepower that you see right there in the Amway car of Scott Brayton's, but Buddy is local. Don't you always see, Sam, that the local guys drive a little bit harder than the guys from out of town?
Yeah, his dad, of course, a very fine driver, all the way behind his son here, and I just hope here's a guy who can get going in the big leagues of racing.
And both he and his dad, competent skiers. They run a lodge up at Vail, and you couldn't ask for nicer people, which is indicative pretty much of about all the guys in racing. Scott Brayton trying to catch up. We take a look up. This is a fight for third place. Cheever moves inside of Mario, and John Andretti is set right up behind there. He's not part of the fight, but the fight continues on as Eddie Cheever tries to carve his way up through the field. And now Cheever is into third place behind Fittipaldi, and Al Unser Jr. is the leader. John Andretti still trying to work his way up through the field, but since he is in 20th place, he has a great deal of ground to make up.
But he has to do that, Paul, and the reason is if he could just get it up ahead, a yellow comes out, or something happens like to Mario, hey, he could jump up 10 positions so fast it wouldn't even be funny.
Take a look at Mario's car because he does seem a little bit off the pace. Bobby, can you see anything on that car? Remember, he was involved in contact. You got the wing flopping loose, but I wonder if something else now hasn't developed.
Well, it could easily be bent a little bit, but you must remember now, the wings here are very important. The tunnels underneath the race car do very little because of the low speed of the race.
Scott Brayton gets past Buddy Lazier as Buddy gets a little bit off the line under braking. May have been, in fact, losing his brakes.
I started to say, Paul, that the tunnels underneath the car, the ground effects part of these cars, don't do an awful lot because of the slower speeds here in downtown Denver. The thing that works is the wings on the car.